Good morning and welcome back to BIFA TV, your daily dose of industry information. Today we're joined by BIFA's PR consultant Ian Matheson for this week's episode of What the Papers Say. Good morning, Ian. What news have you got for us this week?
Well, should we begin with the container market?
Absolutely.
Well, the spot rates have now fallen for the third consecutive week, and that's been after a very strong early summer, driven by tariff front-loading and peak season demand, and the market is beginning to cool. Capacity is growing across the major east-west trades, whilst cargo volumes are easing, and that's putting downward pressure on prices.
So do you think this is simply a seasonal pause, or is this the start of a longer correction?
Oh, that's a difficult question, I think. Several carriers seem to appear optimistic still and argue that August could still deliver a late peak season if importers resume ordering ahead of any further tariff trade policy changes. I guess for the moment, the balance has shifted slightly in favour of shippers rather than the shipping lines.
Yeah, sure. I hear that despite softer freight markets, operational performance hasn't improved.
That's what I've been reading, Natalie. Yeah, certainly. The latest figures show that global container shipping schedule reliability has slipped to just over 62% during June, and that's reversed recent progress on that front. And of course, that means that 4 in every 10 vessels are now arriving late. So congestion has eased in some regions. Network disruption and blank sailings and ongoing routing challenges continue to affect reliability. And for supply chain planners, consistency remains just as valuable as competitive freight rates.
So that's container shipping. What's been happening in air cargo?
Demand is still exceeding available capacity, and that's been helped by continued growth in shipments that are related to the artificial intelligence infrastructure. But it's not just finished AI products moving by air. The enormous demand for semiconductors, servers, networking equipment, high-value electronic components is creating sustained cargo flows between Asia, Europe and North America. And that premium cargo is helping airlines to maintain healthy yields, and even as some traditional sectors soften.
Absolutely. So what other news do you have for us?
One part of the air freight market is beginning to cool. The European Union's new levy on low-value e-commerce imports is already reducing shipment volumes into Europe, and the immediate impact has been fewer dedicated freighter flights that are serving the e-commerce sector. It would appear that airlines that are rapidly expanding capacity to meet booming online retail demand are now adjusting their networks as retailers and logistics providers adapt to the new trading environment. And while the longer-term impact remains uncertain, it's another reminder of how quickly regulation can completely alter and reshape supply chains.
And finally, Ian, I understand you've got an article on customs for us as well.
I have indeed, yeah. Viewers involved in customs processing need to remember that on the 31st of July, HMRC officially removed the PVA 01 workaround on its customs declaration service. And of course, Natalie, that means that anyone making customs entries needs to immediately adjust how they declare the postponed VAT accounting to avoid declarations being rejected.
Absolutely, and we've obviously put a news item out on our website, so we'll make sure for our members watching, we'll put a link to that in the description.
Great. Yeah, so as you know, Natalie, this is my final episode of What the Papers Say, and from later in the month there'll be a new presenter in the chair, as I'm semi-retiring and will no longer be PR consultant to BIFA.
Yes, that's right, and after almost 2 decades in the role, I'd like to thank you for your service and your support, and we truly wish you all the best in semi-retirement.
Thanks very much.
As always, the articles discussed in today's episode can be found linked in the description below. That's all for today's episode of BIFA TV, your daily dose of industry information.